Hey everybody, it's Brandon and wanted to share with you again this week a scripture for community life groups. And this is from Romans 12, and only going to read two scriptures, two verses for you today, and then have some thoughts about it. First off, I want to share with you why I picked these verses. I got the privilege of getting to go to Irvin UMC, which is only about 20 minutes down the road here from Richmond, and share Sunday morning with them. And this was part of the sermon that I shared with them yesterday morning, and enjoyed sharing it with them so much. I felt like it was also deeply relevant to what we're going through just right now in life, and I think there's some truths in there for us that we can talk about today or tonight in our groups. So let me read this. This is verse 1, and then I'm going to read verse 12. So Romans 12, verses 1 and verse 12. So the chapter begins with this. Paul, who's writing to a group of believers there in Rome, he writes, "Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship." And I want to pause there because chapter 12 is only 21 verses long. But for the next 20 verses, Paul goes on a little bit of a rant, like Paul has a tendency to do sometimes in his writings. And he gives over, it seems like as I counted them today, over 30 suggestions or 30 urgings that he gives on what it looks like to, as he says, offer ourselves and offer our bodies as living sacrifices, as an act of worship. And so of those 30, I just want to focus on 3 today, okay? And this is verse 12. So he's going down all these other suggestions and urgings. And in verse 12, he says these 3 things: be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. Let me say those again. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. And I got to admit, these 3 things right now are really hard. It feels like in the midst of this pandemic, we have at the same time lost so much stuff. And it's starting to feel like we don't have much to look forward to as things just continuing to be canceled. And as we look to the year ahead and just go, when will anything that felt like normal before happen again as far as like group gatherings? And so he says, be joyful in hope. I can't wait for how good this new thing is going to be. And when I say a new thing, what I mean by that is that it's not in any way going to ever really feel like it goes back to the old. But whatever is happening now and whatever is on the other side of this, it's going to feel really new. And there's maybe a chance to be really joyful in that and hopeful in that, even though it's hard to do that right now. I was reading earlier today a interview with a guy named Jim Antel. He works in climate change education, and he says he gets asked the question a lot. We know all these facts about climate change, and still you seem so hopeful. How can that be? And this was his answer. He said, "For me, faith and hope are rooted in the conviction that regardless of how bad things may be, a new story is waiting to take hold. Something we have not yet seen or felt or experienced." Then he goes on to say, God is calling us as individuals, and then he says congregations, to work with God and to others to champion that new story. Isn't that a great thought about that even when it's really hard, that we've lost so much, that there may be something so new and so fresh and so beautiful on the other side of this, that we get to work alongside God in the midst of that, and for that hope we can be joyful, right? The second thing Paul says is to be patient in affliction. Patience is really hard. I prefer microwaves instead of ovens and crock pots, simply just because microwaves are a lot faster. Garden fresh tomatoes are always better than buying them in store, but to grow them in your backyard, it takes weeks, if not months. And this idea of patience and affliction, this is not about the idea that, hey, good things come to those who wait. No, I think this idea here, to be patient in affliction, this is about we learn perseverance in the midst of this affliction. As we're patient in our afflictions, it makes us stronger. It shows us that we can do really hard things. And this right now, this is really hard. I know it because I talk with you. I feel it in my own life. But this patience in this affliction is doing a good work in us. I believe it with everything in me. And then the third thing, so be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and then faithful in prayer. To be faithful in prayer, I think the bottom line here is just that we show up. We look to God as our sustainer, our provider. We acknowledge that life is hard, but we also acknowledge that life is a gift, and that all of this that we have around us is grace. We look to God and trust that He will continue to be with us. And on my ride in today, out of nowhere, I was reminded of a song that I don't think I had sung or heard in years. It's by one of my favorite musicians, Rich Mullins. I've mentioned him many times from the early 80s and 90s, and he passed away in a car accident. He had a song called "Hope to Carry On," and the tagline in the chorus is that love has come and it's given me hope to carry on. And when love comes into our life through our friends, through our community that we're a part of, through just feeling that presence of God and Jesus working in and through around us, we have this hope that really carries us forward. And so as you are going about your week, maybe you're getting your week started, it's my hope and my prayer that we can focus ourselves around this. Paul's challenge to the church that we're hearing these words, and God's challenge for us, that we can learn to be joyful in our hope and be excited about what God might do. We can be patient in the struggle and in the hard times, and that we can be faithful in prayer. So I want you to know today or tonight, whenever you're watching this, that I'm rooting for you, I'm praying for you, want the best for you with what's going on in your life. Someone cares for you, and hang in there. Stay safe. Do your best to surround yourself with people that care for you, and giving your life to what matters most. And blessings today in whatever you find yourself doing. So if you need something, let me know. And thank you so much for being part of this time together. Okay.